everybody, it's Coach Brett with Zen and Yard Triathlon, and tonight we're going to talk about the bike ride, how to do an Ironman bike ride and do it well. And I've got a lot of tips for you. So first thing that happens is people come out of the pool and their heart rate's all high and up and excited, and they get on the bike and then they just hammer and they take off, and then right off the bat they've hurt their chances. So there's a rule of thumb in triathlon is that if you go at a hard effort for more than like a minute or so, to where your legs are kind of burning a little bit, more than 3 times, I think it's 3 times or more, or it's more than 3 times, it's one or the other, but you're damaging your run. Up until that point, you can do it, but after that, things aren't looking so good. So you need to calm down on the bike. So what I did was I got on the bike and then biked for 15 to 20 minutes, and I watched my heart rate, and then after about that amount of time, it kind of settled in on the bike. I made sure that I was not going too fast and that my legs didn't burn, and then I saw that my heart rate that I was happy at was about 132 beats per minute. So what I did though is I would press the effort up and make it a little bit harder until my legs started to burn, and that was at about the high 130s for me. And so I said, okay, that's too hard, because if I do that, you can only sustain leg burning for 20, 30, 40 minutes, I mean at most. So you got a 6-hour bike ride, you're going to be in trouble. And the cat is messing with the camera. Hey. So what I did is I settled in, felt what was too hard, and then backed off of that quite a bit, because in an Ironman you need to back off that quite a bit. So I backed off of it about 5 beats per minute. So 130 to 132, I settled in and thought, okay, this feels good. I'll probably be able to do this for the 6 hours and be all right. It didn't feel, too hard or anything like that. And then on my watch, I got the Suunto that I always talk about, Suunto T6C. I set my heart rates then, my limits. I set an upper limit of 135 and a lower limit of 125, and the audible alert's on. It beeps fast if you go over your heart rate, and then beeps slow if you go below it. I do have a power tap, and I decided this time to not use wattage and just kind of see what would happen. And lo and behold, I set a PR, right? I averaged 19.2 on the bike. It was amazing. So just going by feel now instead of numbers. So instead of power. So I'm watching this cat here and see what he does. So the thing is, heart rate tells you a lot more about you than you think. It tells you how your nutrition and your hydration is going. If you're going at a given heart rate, you should be able to stay at that heart rate as long as it's below the burning sensation, the lactic threshold. You should be able to stay at that heart rate for a very, very long time, as long as your nutrition and hydration is okay. What happens is, if you're going at the same effort level you were earlier, but then your heart rate, you can't get your heart rate to stay where it was, it's like falling off and getting lower and lower, then at the same given effort level, then either your hydration or your nutrition's wrong. You either haven't eaten enough fuel or you're dehydrated. So that's why I set the lower limit to 125. And at one point during the event, it was too low. And I took a gel to kind of see if that was the fix with some water, and heart rate came back up. And I thought, okay, cool, nice. So, and then people have a tendency when they go uphill to go too hard, and your heart rate will spike, and the alarm will tell you, don't do that. And that's something for a whole nother episode of why you don't want to do that in a triathlon. there's no point to it, and we'll get into that into a whole nother show. Okay, and so then there's two more things. One is about position on the bike. You want to be as aerodynamic as possible and stay in the aero position as much as you possibly can. But the one time you can cheat on that, and probably should, to give your back a break, and then you end up having more energy when it's needed, is when you're riding with a strong tailwind. That day there was 15 mile an hour winds with 20 to 25 mile an hour gusts is what was in the weather report. And anytime that I was riding with wind like that, it doesn't matter, it only matters this much that that you're riding in an aero position, but it does matter this much over a 6-hour bike ride that it matters this much actually, that you're comfortable. So if you can ride with the wind, then you get you get a nice break with your back. Now, along those lines, the really cool thing is that I've been working on this for quite a few years, trying to figure out the right gearing. Like, do you ride big gears? Do you ride in low RPM, or do you ride small gears, high RPM like Lance Armstrong, Chrissy Wellington? Chrissy Wellington does the big gear thing, and then Lance Armstrong does small gears, and there's a whole bunch of schools of thought either way. Because what's nice is they use different muscle, they use the same muscle group in different ways, and you fatigue differently. And what I did is I took the Galloway run method, which is the run walk during a marathon, to actually go faster overall, because you're using muscle groups differently and mixing it up, and you don't fatigue as fast instead of staying with the same exact thing over and over and over again. Is I did just randomly, I would pick, okay, let's do some big gearing, low RPM for a while, and I would do that for a few minutes, and then after a while I would say, okay, let's do some high RPM for a while, small gear, high RPM, light resistance, for a while, and then I would do big gear up a hill, and then I would do big gears downhill, and do small gears uphill and small gears downhill, and mixed it up. And I could tell there was a big difference. My legs felt so more fresh than ever before. And I think that had a big deal to do with my total PR. 19.2 miles an hour, guys. So the first 2 laps, I averaged over 20 miles an hour. And so that's it. That was my strategy on the bike, and it worked so well. I'm definitely going to keep doing it. And again, let's review. You get out of the swim, get on the bike, start pedaling, go about 15-20 minutes, easy, because it is an Ironman. You need to kind of hold back a lot. So just go ahead and hold back then, go easy, settle in, watch your heart rate, and then once your heart rate quits fluctuating all over the place, then you push it a little bit to see what burns, then back off of that and set a heart rate limit, a high limit, so that you get nowhere near that, and then set a low limit, so that overall you have a range maybe of about 10 beats per minute at the most. And you don't want to go below, because that means your fueling is off and your hydration is off. So if that alarm goes off, then you need to investigate what's going on, because it should not be doing that. And then if you're going too high over that limit, you need to know that you can only do that for 30 seconds, a few times, because if you do it for more than that, then you're damaging your run. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to talk about the run and what I did there. Really good information. So, all right, talk to you then. Bye.